Hey everyone, and welcome to the Scorpio 2025 astrology overview. In this video, I'm going to be taking you on a bit of an overview tour of where the heavy hitters and the major astrological players for 2025 are going and how they are going to influence the energy for you in 2025. So before I get there, I'd just love to make a quick announcement. And this coming November on the 23rd, I am going to be holding a one-day workshop here in Brisbane, exploring all of the astrology of 2025. So if you are in Brisbane or you can get to Brisbane for that Saturday, I'd love to see you. I'm really excited to present all the material, and then hopefully some of us can have maybe a nice dinner and a drink afterwards and solidify the astrology friendships that often take place in in-person events. So I'll pop a link to that in the description box below. I will most likely be doing some online version of a similar setup as well, of course, if you're not in Brisbane or not even in Australia. So I'm going to share your chart now and give you just a little bit of an overview of where the planets are going, and then we're going to look in to see what it's all going to mean. So firstly, you're going to have Pluto grow roots, literally in your fourth house for the next 20 years. So that planet's been going in and out of your fourth and your third since March of 2023. So as the year begins, Pluto's already settled there and it's going to be there for the long term. You're also going to enter into sort of a new work cycle slash a new potentially health cycle, and day-to-day rhythms and routines. Saturn and Neptune are going to introduce themselves to this part of the sky for you in 2025. Now, both of those planets will go back into your fifth, but in 2025, you're going to get a feeling, a sense, a taste of what Saturn in your sixth house is going to bring for 2.5 years. And then, of course, what Neptune's going to bring for the next 14. Now, Uranus is going to exit your seventh house and go into your eighth. And that's going to really reinvigorate and re-energize things to do with finances, money, fears, phobias, the entanglements and resources we share with other people. Now, of course, Uranus will go back into your seventh house in 2025, but for the most part, you're going to get a bit of a heads up and in how this area of life, I should say, is going to shift and change for you over the course of the next 7 years. Now, Jupiter is a beautiful say yes to life cycle starting in June on June 10, and that's a year-long influence. That's really exciting. So that's where all the major planets are going for you in 2025. So, with that said, I don't think the year is going to start for you feeling like new year, new me. It is going to get off to a slow start, a slower start. Reason being, Mars, your ascendant ruling planet, is going to be starting the year retrograde. So, it's going to be retrograde in Leo. And within the very first few days of 2025, it's going to go back into Cancer. So this is going to be ideal if you need to catch up with a few things, tie off loose ends from 2024. This might help you catch up on study, really figure out whether you've got a vocational goal or dream that you're wanting to pursue. This could mean work-related study, work-related travel, or some kind of spiritual or religious or philosophical pursuit. Now, Mars is going to be retrograde from or up until February 2024. Sorry, February 24 of 2025. So it is going to be a slow start. It's going to be an energy as 2025 begins of you kind of sharpening your sword before you get out there into the world and wield it, proverbially speaking. So Mars will get back to regular programming late February through to the 17th of April. From there, Mars is going to head across the top of your chart and move down towards the eastern horizon, um, finishing the year in Sagittarius in your second house. So, for the most part, looking at the direction that your ascendant ruler is going, this is going to be a year where there's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of professional progress, but also a lot of personal development and getting a sense of more deeply knowing who you are, what you want, and how you're going to go about getting it, and getting really in touch with your motivation, so to speak. Now, when it comes to Saturn and Neptune, what they're doing for you in 2025 is that there's going to be a shift in energy from the 30th of March through to October 22, where both Saturn and Neptune are going to be occupying Aries, which is your sixth house. So this is going to be a period of feeling on trial, or a testing period, or testing yourself. You might discover that you really want to devote yourself to perhaps some additional training or learning or study. You might find it hard to stay on track under the influence of Neptune as well. So you've got one planet, Neptune, that is maybe diffusing routines, diffusing daily rituals, feeling very creative and inspired, but lacking in productivity. And then you've got Saturn coming through, kind of cracking the whip and asking you to take increased responsibility, maybe increased workload, and things like that. Now, I was thinking, these are strong energies coming through, but in the sixth house, what could we expect from that? For some Scorpio risings, I wouldn't be surprised if a health issue pops up that might be hard to diagnose or hard to discover where it comes from. And it might just take a lot of discipline, a lot of, really being grounded in routine and ritual to really discover what that is. So that could be, your diet, your exercise, your lifestyle configurations. But I feel that it's just going to be very hard for you to stay on track or stay on task. And I think this constant coming back to recalibration is going to be really important. I'll give you an example. So in aeronautical stuff, pilots and flying and things like that, night to fly at 90 degrees is due east. And so if the pilot allows the aircraft to, let's say, fly at 91 degrees, it's not a big deal, right? It's only 1 degree off. But if you travel at 91 degrees, so let's just say you're coming from, Brisbane or Sydney or even Melbourne, and the destination's Los Angeles, if you're flying that distance at 91 degrees when you're meant to be at 90, then you could end up in Vancouver, for instance. So over a long period of time, that 1 degree is really going to take you off track. I share this because that's what I feel these two influences are going to bring for you, because Neptune's going to want you to kind of get off track, whereas Saturn is going to keep you, or attempt to keep you, on track. Now, Neptune's influence is longer than Saturn's, much longer, 14 years versus 2.5. So starting this cycle together is going to help you stay grounded, stay on track, and stay recalibrating. So this constant, what's the goal? Am I on track? Am I on path? I think is going to be required. Saturn's going to help with that. It will demand that from you. So, it's like, don't get too carried away with your whimsical Neptunian nature. Now, when it comes to money, there's some big shifts coming through, and that is obviously the continual influence of Jupiter in Gemini, which you're already in. And for all intents and purposes, that should be giving you a little bit of a boost in savings potentially. Maybe you're receiving the boons or the benefits from a partner. Your partner might have got a pay rise, or come into some money. You might be paying down debt quicker than you have done in some time. Sometimes Jupiter in the eighth house can be about expanding debt. So you might take on another loan or a bigger mortgage, or even have tax to repay or something along those lines. Jupiter in your eighth house can also help you to realize, oh, actually, I'm in a better financial position than what I thought. I do see that a lot as well. And if that's the case, then that's how you get that benefit from increasing debt. Obviously, increasing debt's not necessarily a bad thing, but you want to do it in a way that is going to give you some of that longer term security as opposed to borrowing money for a good time, so to speak. Now, from the 7th of July through the 8th of November, you're going to have a very stark contrast coming through, and that is Uranus. Now, during those months, you're going to be introduced to a new 7-year cycle. So, 2025, learn about money, get curious about money, expand what's possible for you in terms of finances. Now, this could be your loans, debts, your savings, things to do with superannuation, the 401k type stuff. Um, Maybe this is also going to help you if you've got some fears or phobias or blockages, those kind of psychological blockages, learn about them in Jupiter and Gemini, and then just crack them right open with Uranus and, learn to deal with those in a more authentic way. But for the most part, this might also help you break through any barriers around joining forces with someone, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. And that could be with a partner, either in business or in love. So a lot of changes on the eighth house front for sure. Now, as Uranus leaves the eighth house in November, Mercury is going to come through and spend a part of that time retrograde, just a little bit of a retrograde in your second house of money from the 10th to the 19th of November. So there's a Scorpio Sagittarius overlay there. You'll also have Mars activating that space, your ascendant ruler. So there is this, I want to go fast when it comes to money. I want to earn all the cash, or maybe I want to spend all the cash, whatever that case may be. You want to move fast in one area. But again, take your cues from Mercury. It's just the brief little retrograde there, a little bit over a week. So that might be your opportunity to dot the I's, cross the T's, do a little bit of research. Any delays, mishaps around that time could be a bullet dodged. So try and avoid pushing for progress there. If in doubt, don't. And put your Scorpio, your Scorpio bits back on and get more info. So the home zone is going to have a bit more of a stabilizing influence because Pluto's there for good now. So it's going to be there for the next 20 years. So you're going to feel that full brunt of Pluto's power in the new potentiality or possibilities that it can offer in terms of its capacity to change and transform your dynamics at home, where you live, who you live with, what the nature of your family relationships are, whether you live with housemates, whether you live with your partner and children, whether you live with extended family, those sorts of things. So all of that is going to go through a continual process of evolvement from now. So it's a long bow to draw when you talk about a Pluto cycle because it's such a long one. But pretty much where you are at right now with family, just expect that it's going to be very different by the time Pluto ends. As always, when it comes to Pluto and also to you being a Scorpio rising, truth, trust, and loyalty in the home environment are just going to be paramount. So this reminds me a little bit of, do you remember that movie, Meet the Parents, where I think it was Robert De Niro, his character talked about the circle of trust, and you're either in the circle of trust or you're out of that circle of trust. So that's what you're going to be figuring out. So you might find that some people within your family, relatives, what have you, will end up on the outside of that circle of trust, while other people may come within it. So it will shift. Now, relationships will also shift. And that's because you're starting to come out of a long cycle of change and instability when it comes to relationships. Now, no offense, Scorpio, but if you're a bit of a tire kicker in relationships, um, prefer the sort of drama as opposed to stability, that may shift. Or if you've got used to drama as opposed to stability, because sometimes we go through these cycles and they are what they are. So between July 7 and November 8, you're going to get a bit of a feel. This is just what it's like to have Taurus on my seventh house without the influence of Uranus. Because after 7 years, you might have got so used to Uranus, you're thinking, oh, wow, is this what it's going to be like in relationship forever? So after change, chaos, and uncertainty, you're going to get closer to what it is that you really want in partnership. So this could be love life, or your professional life as well. So between those months, July and November, on the one hand, you're going to get some reprieve, breathing space. Oh, thank God that drama's over type of thing. That reprieve from the last 7 years of everything feeling as though it's in flux, it can't be relied upon, it's lacking in stability. While on the other hand, those months are really going to be hand on heart stuff and ask you to think, okay, well, what is it that I actually want in love? Have you got so used to chaos and change and erraticness and instability that you actually forgot? Hang on, what do I want in love? Especially if you've been involved in a relationship or relationships that have been something you couldn't rely on, or the person was flaky, or the person was, you couldn't count on them for some reason. Between July and November, remind yourself who you are and what you want, and figure out how you can go about claiming that. Now, if you're in a relationship, a long-term happy relationship, but it has got a little bit stale perhaps, or a little bit stagnant, you may need to breathe a bit of fresh air into it. And so that might mean changing up rhythms, routines, patterns. So Uranus is about freedom, it's about independence, it's about liberation. And that's counterintuitive to togetherness. But sometimes you do have to go solo, do something by yourself or for yourself. So when you come back to your partner, you're more fulfilled, or you're more you got something to share. So life gets a little bit beyond what's for dinner, dear, pass me the remote. Like, we don't want that. Well, it might be okay for some, but if you really feel the desire to do something new, different, unique, then that kind of can make you more attractive. I can't remember where I heard this, but um, some podcast or something, or YouTube, that one person will find their partner so attractive is when they are in their element, when they're doing what they love. Like, so this might be in a professional setting. If you're a I don't know, um school teacher, for instance, and you're in your element when you're in the classroom teaching little kids, and you get to witness your partner in that space, that's really, really attractive, because you are you. I know I'm totally riffing on this one, but I hope you get the gist. Okay, so sometimes Scorpio wants to so hold on to how everything is and doesn't want to change. So you're going to learn how to change, but it be healthy change. It doesn't have to be individuate and seek freedom at the cost of the relationship. So there's a definitive difference there. Now, if you're single, so if you're Scorpio rising and single, this gap in time between July and November while Uranus exits, and then it will come back in for a period of time, that exit might make you realize, oh, it's now or never. And so if you're single and you don't want to be, you might have to take a little bit of a radical approach or get out of a comfort zone when it comes to finding your soulmate or whomever. Okay, happiness, joy, fun, and stuff. That's going to feel a little bit lighter and a little bit different in 2025 because Saturn and Neptune have been there for a little bit and then they're not going to be there for a little bit. So the gap in time here is from March 30 to August, sorry, not August, October 22. So that's when, excuse me, Saturn and Neptune will exit that space. And so everything to do with love, romance, joy, happiness, sex, kids, children, sports, recreation, fun and pleasure and joy are going to feel very, very different for you. So Neptune's been there since 2011. And so that can kind of be that the cosmic beer goggles when it comes to dating, mating, and relating. So you might figure out as Neptune leaves for a big chunk of 2025, is this situation that I'm in like a situationship? Is that really what I want? And you might be able to see a romantic situation for what it is. So, for example, if you've been dating someone for X amount of time and it's just going nowhere, Neptune might help you sort of recognize that and draw that proverbial line. Am I happy staying in that, or do I need to change or have some more stability or commitment, whatever the case may be? For others, if you've been indulging in pastimes, pleasure pursuits, or different things that are not really in your best interests, this might be a good time to reassess and get rid of that. So the fifth house in many ways is what do you do with your time when the bills are all paid, so it's you don't have to earn money, and all the jobs are done, so you don't have to, do the washing and clean the house. How are you spending your spare time? And if you're just sinking down beers and watching football, maybe Neptune exiting that space will help you realize I could be using my time a whole lot better. Now, Saturn out of the picture, conversely, may help you feel lighter about fun and joy and pleasure again. So it may be less about being responsible, if children are involved. Um, Maybe you just want to do things for fun again, as opposed to somehow connecting pleasure with responsibility or work and fun. For me, I have a little bit of a issue with that too. Like, I just don't really take holidays for holidays' sake. It's like, well, maybe I'll go here. I could do an astrology workshop there and, tie it in. I have to learn just to have fun without it being associated with work a bit. So that might be what you'll experience when Saturn exits. So without joy feeling like a task or a sense of responsibility or things being really serious, you might actually feel a little bit lighter about the topics of joy, love, and romance. And you've got Jupiter on the fifth house cusp. Jupiter will be moving into Cancer mid-year, so I think things will get a lot better for you in that department. Now, adventure, travel, and all of that stuff. So it's a slow start with the Mars retrograde. So this will help you sharpen your sword earlier in the year to figure out what you want to focus on. So it might help you answer some of life's bigger existential questions. Where do I want to, for some, it might be just where do I want to take my next holiday? But for others, it might be the bigger questions that you're trying to find solutions for. What role does God play in my life? What role does religion, spirituality, philosophy, my life view, my political view, all those sorts of things, the broader perspective on life is going to shift and change. Your dreams for the future are going to come into play, your aspirations, the bucket list stuff. So these will likely change. Um, so you do expect some frustration earlier in the year. Things may not go to plan. There may be changes, there may be delays, particularly if you're going to be traveling earlier in the year, studying, teaching, or trying to reach these higher realms. It will be a little bit challenging for you. However, if you can stick it out, the universe is going to give you a big, big green light come June 10 when Jupiter arrives there. So that's your big yes transit, where a quest for meaning, purpose will be a key feature from June 10 for a whole year. So say yes to life. So if you do feel that the earlier part of the year that everything's kind of going wrong, nothing's going right, and you're ready to tear your hair out, they're there. It's really going to get better for you. Now, friends, groups, communities, and your general ability to recognize and to tap into an opportunity, it's going to diminish fractionally because of the South Node's arrival on January 12th. So that's going to be an 18-month period where everything in that area of life is going to get a little bit churned up. Now, it doesn't have to be bad. It's definitely going to bring a bit of a reassessment of friendships, of your groups, your communities, and, the general wider circle that you're involved with. When the South Node goes through the 11th house, you're really going to want to sort of distill down what true friendship means. Have you got hangers on, an entourage, people you just kicking tires with, or have you got people in your circle that are really meat and potatoes types? Do they have your back? Are they spiritually aligned with you? Can you really, really trust them? Is there some sort of soul component to that relationship, to those friendships? So that's going to be a big deal. You might discover, particularly with the eclipse in March, that the month of March all round, people might come back from the past, an old group you're involved with, maybe a friend you haven't heard from for a long time. You might find yourself even returning to the fold of an old group or community that you sort of slipped away from for a bit. So that's something to be mindful of as well. And as you sort of doors close and doors open when the nodes are involved and eclipses, as you have less energy for some people in your life because you're opening doors to other potentialities and possibilities in that area. Now, the South Node in the 11th can also be really a signature for wanting to give back, pay things forward. So you might get sort of feel pulled or called to for charity work or donating some of your time, your energy, or your resources to some kind of organization, a charity, non-for-profit, or even within your community, not whether it's local community or what have you, but also your industry. So you might take on an unpaid role as an organization or something like that. So, maybe an astrological organization, or could be the local soccer club, whatever it is, but you might find yourself giving back a little bit in terms of a community setting. So, Scorpio, I hope you found that helpful to just kind of get a feel for where the big energies of the year are sort of guiding you towards. If you like the video, please let me know with a like or a subscribe. And of course, I always welcome your comments as well. So until next time, I will see you then.